enjoy
I
enjoy
had
the
a panel
festival?
yesterday, but yeah,
Yeah, that is true.
my
I mean,
first
this is
solo.
your solo, yeah.
Yeah.
This is your first solo session. Um, and what we are doing this afternoon is selected readings from your works. So we are hoping to have more readings from you so that we can enjoy your readings. And then after that, we will take some questions from the audience.
Okay.
So I'd like to welcome everyone here with us. If you are nearby and you want to join us, please come as we have started. Raoul, you
Yeah.
are a Dutch and Surinamese writer, and you've done a lot of work. I think that you were also nominated and won the what Boekenweek.
Yeah, Boekenweek.
Yeah,
It's a
and
thing. It's very meaningful in the Netherlands. Nobody outside of the Netherlands knows what this is. But if you are asked to do that, basically it's like winning an Oscar for a writer. And they do this tradition, the Boekenweek, since 90 years in the Netherlands. And in this 90 years, I was the first writer of the Boekenweek essay of color. So it was a very big thing for me and for also the people and the writers that I represent. And this happened in 2023. Yes.
yeah, and when you are nominated, well, when you win this, what exactly does it entail? What do you do?
Yeah. So it's not really that you win something. But they ask you to write a short story. And during the Boekenweek, which lasts a week, they print this story, and in every bookstore they sell it for €5. So usually this Boekenweek essay, it becomes #1 in the bestseller list for a week. Yeah, so it's not really a prize, but it's like something very prestigious to be asked for. Yeah, and for a writer, it's like winning the Oscars.
What did you use it for? What did you write about?
Well, so what I wrote about, yeah, it's a long story. Okay, let's see how I can go to this. So basically, in 2020, I published this book in the Netherlands, Jaguar Man, which is about the history of Suriname, which is an old colony of the Netherlands, and it's something. It's an old colony of the Netherlands, but we know very little about the history of this place. Suriname is in South America. It's basically a piece of the Amazon rainforest. It used to belong to the English until the Dutch traded New Amsterdam, the city of New Amsterdam, with the English for Suriname. So New Amsterdam became New York, and Suriname became Dutch. Basically a piece of rainforest. They cut the rainforest, turned it into plantations, killed and chased away the native inhabitants of the country, and imported all these people from Africa to work on the plantations as slaves. Yeah, my father is from this country. I met my father for the first time when I was 28. My mother is a white Dutch woman. My father is a black man from Suriname. And until I met my father, I knew very little about the history of Suriname. I knew as much as you know as an average Dutch person, which is almost nothing. So I started to research this whole history. We will talk about it more later, but yeah, and I wrote this book about it, Jaguar Man. And something very strange happened after this book came out. It was awarded for many literature prizes. So it was literature, but only find this book in many stores if you were already interested in Suriname and not if you just wanted to read something about humanity. So this was something that didn't surprise me in a way, because for this book I had done research about all the Suriname writers that came before me, and they found many ways to silence these people, and this is one of the things that they also did to their book. So I was not surprised about it, but I was very annoyed by it. And I understood it's based on a misunderstanding. If you write about Suriname or about the wisdom of black people, somehow there's this misunderstanding in the Netherlands that the white people think it's only relevant for people from Suriname. So I did try to do all these things to take this misunderstanding out of the heads of the Dutch people. I made a television program, a podcast. I tried many, many different things, but it was very tiring to always have to convince people that this story was for everyone and that it was enough to be a human being in order to be interested in this. So, yeah, after a year or 2 years of doing that, I was very tired of doing this, and I thought, actually, maybe I'm gonna stop writing, and I just don't want to do this anymore. And on that day, I heard that I was awarded this Book Week essay thing. And what is beautiful about the Book Week essay, they put that, they sell that next to the cash register. So they cannot put it in the back of the store with books about Suriname. It will be next to the cash register in all the books of the Netherlands. For 1 week, the writer of this book is in all the television programs, in all the newspapers. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna use this to tell sort of the same story as in Jaguar Man, but this time they cannot ignore it. And the book will become #1, and that's what happened also.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And oh,
Thank you.
I was going to ask you who did you write for, but I think you kind of already answered that this is a story that is about, I mean, the human
Humanity.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. And
Well, yeah, exactly. I write for everyone, but I write for people like my father, and his parents and his grandparents, and I feel their pain in a way, and I feel part of healing that pain is telling their story, or telling the story of people like them. But I also write for my white mom, whom I love dearly, and my white grandfather and my white grandmother, because I know them very well, and I know their lives are not perfect, and I understood that by looking at this story and taking what you can learn from this story and using that in your own life, you can make your own life better. So it's like, it's a gift. It's a gift to my black ancestors, but it's also a gift to my white ancestors and my white family, and it's a gift to the bookstores of the Netherlands. Yeah, yeah, because in these bookstores of the Netherlands we have like many Dutch writers. They are with literature, but also Ernest Hemingway or like the French writers. They are placed with literature, and these books are beautiful. I read them all, but I think the book closet just becomes more interesting if you also put these kind of stories next to it. So it's also a gift to the bookstores, and yeah.
thank you. I think it's about perfect time that we take some readings. What would you like to read first? Because we are going to read a little bit about from Jaguar Man,
Yeah.
and then we will also take some reading from Boto Banja, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay. Okay, so I will first read a little bit from Jaguar Man.
do you want me to move this microphone?
No, it's okay. I can do like this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I should explain a little bit about Jaguar Man. So I met my father for the first time when I was 28, my black father. I didn't grow up with him. I didn't know anything about him or the country where he was born. And we met one day because he had sent me an email. He wanted to meet his son. A couple of months later, we met at the station of Amsterdam, the central station of Amsterdam. And it was very weird. I was waiting for him, and I didn't know how he looked like. I just knew he was black. So I was waiting for him, and there were many black men passing by in Amsterdam. Yeah, and while I was waiting for him, I was like, maybe it's like somebody like Denzel Washington, or like somebody very pretty or somebody very clever. But then after 10 minutes, my father was too late. I'm also always too late, but that day I was on time. And my father was too late. After 10 minutes, I saw this man appear, and he was like looking into the mirror. It was very strange. I immediately recognized him because we move the same, we talk the same, our bodies are the same. He was bald. That was not so nice. So it was also like, okay, that's what's gonna happen to me. Yeah, and that night we had dinner together. It was very magical. Many weird things happened that night, and we talked, and I understood like, oh, there are all these things inside of me that come from this man whom I had never met before. Like also weird little things, like I never had a smartphone because I always lost my telephone. And my father also didn't have a smartphone. And he had 6 other children with 4 different wives, and none of them had a smartphone. So there were also like all these weird little things that I understood, okay, this comes from this man. I didn't invent myself. I am part of a much longer story. That started probably not with my father, but with his father and his father and his father and this country where they come from. So I wanted to know, what is that? What do I carry inside of myself that comes from there, and what is beautiful about that? So my father, he didn't want to talk about the history of Suriname. When I asked him questions, he was not very open about it. So I went to a bookstore in the Netherlands one day and I asked, do you have books about Suriname written by people who look like me? And they didn't have that. They said there was one book about Suriname. It was about what Suriname had done with the independence and what disaster that was, written by 2 white Dutch people. And when I got that book, I was like, okay, so this is not what I'm searching. I want to know what is beautiful about this country. And I want somebody like James Baldwin or Maya Angelou or Toni Morrison, because all these people we do know in the Netherlands, the Americans, but the Surinamese we don't know. So I asked, are there people like that in the bookstore? And they said, no, they don't exist. So I went on on the internet. I thought there must exist something. And then I found this book from 1934, written by the man that I have on the back of my shirt, actually. I will turn around. This man, his name is Anton de Kom, and he wrote a book in 1934. It's called We Slaves of Suriname. And in this, he tells the history of Suriname through the perspective of black people. It was forbidden, the book, after it came out, or it was sort of silenced to that. Anton de Kom was followed by secret services. He died when he was 44 years old in a concentration camp. But I found a copy of this book in the library of Rotterdam. I read it in 3 days. And I understood, okay, this history was terrible for people that look like me. I also understood you cannot really understand the Netherlands if you don't know this history. You cannot understand in which world we live if you don't know how this world became the way it is. And I also understood I am alive, so somehow people found a way to pass on life, to survive 300 years of hell on earth. And how did they do that? And if I can find an answer to that, I can find something, well, which will help us to create a better future and which is relevant to everyone. I also understood that 90% of Suriname is Amazon rainforest. And as a little child, I always had dreams about the rainforest. I had seen many places in the world. By then I was 27, but I had still not gone to the rainforest. And I thought, okay, if I can find something in this history of our family that has something to do with the rainforest, I can sell a book to my publisher and they will pay my trip to Suriname. So I found back my father. He had kind of disappeared again after our first meeting. And I asked him, is there something in our family history? And he said, yes, but it's a very bad thing. You absolutely have to leave this alone. One of your ancestors was a voodoo priest. He was an enslaved man. Enslaved African, and he had powers with which he could turn himself into a jaguar. But this is a very bad thing. You absolutely have to leave this alone. It's a curse for the family. We are saved from this curse because I became Christian, my father said. And if you start to research this, bad things will happen. And after that, he didn't pick up his telephone anymore. He kind of disappeared. So, kind of as a revenge, but also because I was just very curious and because I didn't want to believe for the rest of my life that I was cursed. I wanted to find out, so what are these powers of the jaguar? Why is my father so afraid of it? And what do they have to do with me? And are those the powers actually that gave me this life? So that is what I did for the next 7 years. I did a lot of research. I went to Suriname for the first time in my life. I went to voodoo functions, Winti, we call that in Suriname. I met with many, many, many people. I went to sort of a hell. It was very, very difficult. I found a lot of possible answers, but not the answer. And on the last day that I was in Suriname, I spoke to a 79-year-old Winti priestess, a voodoo priestess, and she told me, okay, you have the answer in yourself. So what you have to do is you have to go back to the Netherlands, and for 7 days you have to do a ritual. And every day when you wake up, you have to take a certain bath, you have to wear white clothes, and you have to talk to your ancestor, the Jaguar man, and explain him everything that happened, and then you will find the answer. So that is what I started to do, and that is what the book became. The book is 7 letters, basically, to the Jaguar man, in which I talk to the Jaguar man and tell him the whole history of Suriname and talk about all the writers that I met.
And where are you taking this one from?
This is from Jaguar man, and this is the first letter that I write to my forefather, and it goes like this. Dear thou, who art my forefather, for these past years you've been playing a game with me. You gave me signs and I followed them, from Rotterdam to Paramaribo, from Rome to Recife in Brazil. But every time I came close to treading on your tail, you sped away. We cannot go on like this forever. I think you know that as well as I do. It is time to take stock, to put our cards on the table. All right, I will start. This is not a story about white or black, the Netherlands or Suriname, the old world or the new, and it is not a story about my father, even though all those things play a role. This is a story about you, Jaguar man. I am told you had supernatural powers and that these powers have something to do with me. Is that possible? Is it possible that just because we share a few genes, your actions have influenced my life? When I look at my father and myself, I think the answer must be yes. For 28 years, he wasn't a father to me, yet we share so much, far more than just our skin color. So it stands to reason there's also something of my father's father in me, and of my father's father's father. One of these fathers is you. My father tells me you had the power to change yourself into the strongest, and some say the most cruel animal in the South American rainforest, the king of the Amazon, the jaguar. How did you do that? Who were you? Where did you come from? How did you get your powers? And why does my father tell me I should leave those powers alone? This is day 1 of a 7-day ritual to answer my questions. A ritual prescribed to me in a little gingerbread house with security grills and a rose garden on the edge of the Surinamese rainforest by the 79-year-old Winti priestess Missy Ellie Purperhart. After all the stories I had heard about her, I was surprised how adorable she looked. Dark brown, very tiny, with chubby cheeks and curly gray hair. She sat facing me on an enormous white sofa and slowly took me in without saying a word. Then, with a conspiratorial smile, she spoke. There are usually said to be 5 major world religions, but that's an error. There's a 6th group of religions, which arose on and around the plantations in the Caribbean and the Americas. These religions are practiced by billions of people worldwide, mostly in secret. Jaguar man, she was talking about what's called voodoo or hoodoo in the United States, voodoo in Haiti, Santeria or Candomblé in Brazil, and Winti in Suriname. What all these religions have in common, according to Missy Ellie, is that they are a mix of Christianity, indigenous religions, and mysterious forces that traveled along with enslaved people from Africa. What does Winti say about my father's story? Could it be true? I asked Missy Ellie. She seemed distracted by something over my shoulder, a spirit, I thought, but when I turned around, I saw there was a car parking across the street. She let out a mysterious laugh and to my surprise quoted the Bible. I, your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the crimes of the parents unto, and then with a word, the 4th generation. So yes, Jaguar Man, it could be true. According to Christianity and according to the Winti religion. I left nervously. So does that mean that I am cursed? Missy Ellie didn't know, but she did know how I could find out. I will tell you, but you have to follow my instructions. Otherwise, this could turn into a disaster. You must take it seriously. The ritual would take me 7 days, she told me. 7 days without cigarettes or alcohol, no meat, no salt, no sex. And I could start only when I was back in the Netherlands, because you, Jaguar Man, are a spirit that doesn't like flying. It's 9:35 on a Monday morning in June, and I am sitting in my bird's nest studio on the 11th floor of a high-rise overlooking the Rotterdam harbor. Rotterdam is in the Netherlands. have you ever heard of the city called Rotterdam? Yeah, okay, you do. Well, there's nothing to do there, but that's where I live. It's always gray, cold, and rainy. Unfortunately, I was born there, so that's where I live. The sun shines in through the windows, a flight of gulls swoops past my balcony, and from outside comes the roar of the motorway. Every deadline has been met, every bill paid. There are no cigarettes in my apartment, my phone is on vibrate, and my out-of-office reply is on for the rest of the week. For the next 7 days, Jaguar Man, I'm all yours. By this morning, I brought home everything Missy Ellie's recipe told me, except a prapi, an aluminium top. Yesterday, when they showed me what it was in the Winty store, I had already piled more than 50 euros worth of stuff on the counter. So this morning, I used a blue plastic bucket instead, the same bucket I used for soapy water when I cleaned my apartment yesterday. I hope you don't mind. When I read this in Suriname, there goes a shiver across the across the room. This is not how you're supposed to do this, but I made a cross on the bottom in white chalk, crushed half a ball of white pimba clay into powder, poured molasses onto it from a plastic bottle, took some twigs from a tropical plant out of a bag I kept in the freezer, cut them into pieces over the bucket, added cold water, stirred it into a sludge with a wooden mixing spoon, and filled the bucket with hot water. As hot as you can stand, Missy Ellie had written down. The liquid was steaming hot and brown, the twigs got stuck in my hair. With the dish I made guacamole in yesterday, I doused myself with the steaming concoction 1 cup at a time. And as you pour, don't stand stuck still like a statue, Missy Ellie had said to me. Talk, and your words will take shape. Her instructions told me what to say. I am washing myself to become enlightened. All the uncleanness I have picked up in the street, at work or anywhere else, I wash it away. I said that, and then I realized the building's shared walkway was right outside the bedroom window, and anyone passing by could hear me. I turned on the hot water, showered, then I swept the brown water into the shower drain with a cloth, threw the twigs into a planter on my balcony, and rinsed out the bucket, made a new cross on the bottom of the bucket, put the dried roses on top that Missy Ellie had given me from her garden, covered the whole thing with a red elixir called 7 Spirits, and filled the bucket with lukewarm water. This time I said, I am washing myself with this water to give my body strength, the strength my Winties need. As Missy Ellie had instructed me, I put on my outfit for the next 7 days, a bright white t-shirt and a pair of tight white shorts. Since summer in the Netherlands is nothing like summer in Suriname, I was also wearing white thermal underwear. I hope that's okay, Jaguar Man. Then I opened the top of my vintage Swedish-designed ebony writing desk, which had cost me much more than I could afford. 8 months earlier, I had set it up as an altar with all the objects that you, Jaguar Man, have sent my way over the past years. This morning, I light a blue candle, opened a fresh notebook, and said, Thou, who art my forefather, reveal thyself. I don't recall exactly how I had pictured this moment, but nothing happened. All I saw were the same books lined up on the desk in front of me now, books written by people who look like me and my father and like you. Their names are Anton de Kom, Edgar Cairo, the brothers Penar, Leo Ferrier, Astrid Roemer, Rita Dulci Raman, Bram Beer, Ivan Brave, Tessa Leosha, who is sitting there, Reinier Artiest, Frank Drachtenstein, Clark Accord, Nina Jurna, Julian Zaalman, and Ellen Ombre. I found them thanks to a series of strange coincidences in second-hand bookstores, at Winty celebrations, on websites for book collectors, and through conversations with architects, archaeologists, voodoo priests, and dance instructors in the Netherlands and Paramaribo. Maybe somewhere in all those stories I found, your voice was speaking to me, but I still don't understand quite what you were telling me. But I don't want to end up with a psychosis or anything, right? I told Missy Ellie. Seemingly deaf to my words, she just nodded and said, do it, do it, do it. You had to do it. What I could discover might be bad, she told me, but it might be good as well. And with a mischievous laugh, she added, and it will be much better if you don't say anything to your father. While we picked the roses in our garden for the ritual, I realized there was a small but significant detail I had not mentioned to her yet. Not until we were saying goodbye at the garden gate did I dare to tell her, oh yeah, by the way, I'm also working on a book, I told her. Missy Ellie didn't seem to see anything devilish in that. She replied, well, then you should write it. She said that through this ritual, you, Jaguar Man, would give me insight into waking life and into my dreams. And she told me what to say to you before I started. Father, I will take everything in. I place everything in your hands. Father, you are God. You are my Father. You are everything to me. You will never abandon me, and I have faith in you. Something happened, I know. As you once said, the crimes of the fathers will be passed on to the children. It doesn't have to be a crime, it could be something good as well. But you are saving something for me. Review it to me. So, there you have it. Jaguar Man, whoever you are and whatever you want to say, I'm ready to face it. The truth and nothing but the truth. Let's start at the beginning.
Thank you very much. If you have a question, you can hold on a little bit. We will come for the questions. But Raoul, I mean, did you do all of this?
Did I actually do all of this?
I'll ask you a more
what should I
I'll ask you a
answer?
more serious question.
Okay, I actually did do all of this. And then I was supposed to do it for 7 days. Of course, I didn't write a whole book in 7 days. So, like in the book, I pretend I write the whole book in 7 days. In reality, it took me, 7 years. So in reality, I started to do the ritual, and I was not supposed to eat salt, right? But I had bought
And
chips.
that's because the spirit behind you doesn't like salt.
Yeah, he doesn't like salt because the story is that, like, when people were put onto slave ships, Africans, if you had not eaten salt and you were spiritually aware, connected, you were able to fly back to Africa, to turn into a bird and fly back to Africa. So that is the reason why I was not supposed to eat salt. So yes, I managed to not eat salt for 2 days, and then I opened the chips that I had stupidly bought with the taste sea salt. And I bought a package of cigarettes after 2 days. But so I stopped after 2 days, but then I came back to it like a month later. Every time I would work on the book, I would do the ritual. So in reality, I didn't do it for 7 days. I did it for, I don't know, months. If you put all the days together that I actually did it, it were months. Yeah.
And you know, I was looking at the audience while you were talking about these things about, the ritual. And I mean, we have a diverse audience here, and I would say that as someone from Ghana, they don't sound strange to me at all. Because there are several equivalencies between what you're describing and what you might get from maybe a medicine man, for example. I mean, I would say ritualist, except for me, it sounds a little bit towards the negative nowadays, you know, like when you hear that word. But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
The equivalences are there to draw. I don't find them out of the ordinary at all,
No.
except you trying on the
Yeah.
thermal pants and all
Yeah.
of that. It's not,
Yeah, that's
it's
the
not really
Rotterdam
accounted
element.
for, yeah.
The-
But do you
yeah.
find? Do you also find? I know you go around a little bit, and do you find these equivalences elsewhere and things like that? Do you?
Oh, totally. Yes, no, totally. I can see it everywhere. It's like already in the plane. Just if you look at all of you, you could be Surinamese people. In Suriname, we have the Maroons.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you heard about the Maroons? These are, yeah, for the people who don't know, these are enslaved people that escaped the plantations, went into the rainforest, basically, started new villages. And from these villages, they how do you say this in English? They made war against the Dutch and the English and the French. They freed other enslaved people, and they somehow managed not only to survive in the rainforest, but to thrive. And they kept very true to the traditions they had brought with them from different parts of Africa. So yeah, and these people also didn't really. They got peace treaties before slavery was abolished, and that meant that they had rights to their land. So they stayed there, and they didn't really mix with the rest of the Surinamese population. So they look very African, and they look very similar to like the people I saw in the airplane to Ghana. Yeah, so already that you can see. But also, yeah, one of the things I found out, the name for the spirit of the jaguar is Kromanti. Yeah, there's a village here called Kormanse. Kormanse, yeah, and Kromanti was a name that was given to the Akan people. Yeah, so there are so many links, and they're so direct, and it's very logical. Somehow it's weird when we talk about enslaved people. Oftentimes we think these people were just bodies who were loaded onto a ship and they didn't bring anything with them. But of course these people were people and they had memories and they had tradition and cultures. And even if these things were forbidden from the moment they were enslaved, they found ways to keep this alive. Yeah, and they passed them on. And yeah.
Have you heard of the word adope?
No, yeah, you were talking about that.
The dwarfs.
Oh, how are they called?
Adope.
No, I didn't hear about
I
this.
know, but this is in Ghana.
Yeah.
But the story goes that dwarfs have magical powers.
Uh-huh.
They can do all kinds of things, and if you can find yourself a dwarf, that's a really big business, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But they also come with some quirky perks, and they say, oh, you cannot maybe eat okra or something like that.
If you want to keep this dwarf happy.
If you want to keep the dwarf with you.
Yeah.
And you know, everywhere you go, the dwarf goes with you.
Yeah.
And it's protecting you.
Yeah.
So it can see things before they happen.
Yeah.
And it can forestall negative things
Yeah.
from happening to you.
In Suriname, we have the bakru. That's like an evil dwarf that's created by people to do evil, or they use it oftentimes, they say, to do evil to other people. This is one of the first things Surinamese people told me about when I told about the Jaguar man. They said like, Winty, scary, scary, bakru, evil dwarf. I had so many nightmares about the evil dwarfs. I was very afraid
do
of
you
the evil
think-
dwarfs.
I wanted to ask you because, you know, in another story of yours, which you haven't read yet, but you talk about, do you think, you talk about the secrets that were hidden in plain sight among people who were enslaved and
Yeah.
sent across the Atlantic?
Yeah.
What do you think about the possibility that these things were created to disguise or to hide and protect information about history, ourselves, and our people?
Yeah, I think it's marvelous how strong people were. That is what I like. At first, when I started to do the research for these powers of the Jaguar man, it was very hard um, find the voices of my ancestors. So there were books written from a certain moment, like by Anton de Kom. In 1934, he wrote a book. But the first book that was written by a black man in Suriname was already in 1864. Johannes King, this man was called. And from that moment on, there were always people that told the story of enslaved people, but all these people got sort of the same treatment as Anton de Kom. They were like put in jail or followed by secret services, or they were put on separate shelves in the bookstores. So, okay, that was the reason these books were hard to find. But then during slavery, people were not even allowed, black people were not even allowed to learn writing or reading. Yeah, and one of the ways in which slavery worked was to, well, the difference between white people and black people had to be made as big as possible. So slaves were, for example, not allowed to wear shoes or jewels. They were not allowed to learn to read or write. Yeah, and these enslaved people had to start believing themselves that they were created inferior to the white people. It was like a theater play that had to be played every day until people started to believe it, until the master started to believe that he was really created as a master, and until black people started to believe that they were truly created as slaves. So that is the first thing that I found out, and then you don't find the voices of these black people also. So you start to think like, oh, these people were spiritually broken. But then at a certain point, I don't remember how exactly I got access to this world, but at a certain point I sort of got a key to the secret world, the secret language that these people invented. And then you see, oh, but people actually did talk, and they did pass on their history, and they did it, for example, through clothes. They gave secret messages with clothes. They did it through songs. They did it through certain rhythms, through the talking drum. For example, I know you have that here also. Also in Suriname, the talking drum is something that exists. They used that to give secret messages while they were escaping from the plantations. Yeah, so in fact, enslaved people were not stupid at all. They had to learn how to play stupid so that they could keep their light alive. And in fact, they were not stupid at all. They were doubly smart. Yeah, and that's the amazing thing. Once you get the key to that secret world, you understand that. And yeah.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
I think we can take some more reading. Yeah.
Yeah, or questions?
Yeah, we can take questions too. If you have a question, I will pass around the mic. Yeah, while we wait for the question, maybe you can read. And then
Yeah,
there's
okay.
a question.
I wanted to escape that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Prof has a question.
Not so much a question. You said you live in Rotterdam.
Yes.
My first visit to Netherlands was to Rotterdam,
Yeah.
and I made a connection with a fantastic Surinamese guy there.
Yeah.
I was wondering whether any of you here may know or know about him.
What's his name?
Paul Midling.
Oh gosh, I do know this name.
Yes.
I don't know if I met him. I might, but I do
Paul
know this name for
Midling
some reason. Yeah.
is one of the most amazing storytellers I have ever. And I was doing a television program here when he came to visit. So we did 2 recordings in the Ghana television studios. And I remember before he started his performance
Yeah.
of the first story, Avanyo. And then he went on and on and on.
Yeah.
So at the end, I said, "Did you say in that song, Avanyo?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, what does it mean?" He said, "No, I don't know. We are not sure, but it's something that the old people would say whenever life looks like that's the end for you. But Avanyo, in my language, means it will be all right one day." And among the Akan people here, Ebeye, among the Ghana people, Ebahi. So we call it the Elavanyo philosophy of life. We get us through tough times here in Ghana. Wow. And it is, as I listen to you talking, those documentaries I did with Paul Medling, every time I show it to my students or any other group, everybody goes wild. Yeah. But the day he recorded the second of those documentaries, he had just come from a visit to Elmina Castle and had been into the dungeon. And when he opened his mouth, his eyes, it was an incredible feeling for every one of us. The recording studio went silent, and his voice just took over and went rambling through the through the dungeons as he followed Anansi across the Atlantic into Suriname. Yeah. So that then during the period when the Surinamese Prime Minister, Commander Bouchesi, came to Ghana on a state visit, we hosted him and the delegation at the Du Bois Center. And they came with an elder in the group who poured libation. When he raised the drink up to the skies, as we would normally do here when we pour libation, the first word that came out, Chediampong. And everybody went, why? Because that's the name the Akan people have for the Creator God. Yeah. I believe that it's not just in Suriname, but
No, of course not.
other places, some of which I have had the privilege to visit in the Caribbean and South America.
Yeah.
They have preserved some of our ancient traditions, which we have forgotten. Most of us have forgotten.
Yeah.
Even if they're there, we don't want to remember them because it offends our so-called Christian.
It's coming. Sorry? Oh, yes, I would be honored.
Congratulations. Raoul, thank you so much for coming to Peja.
Yeah,
thank you so much for being here the last few days and being such a presence at every other person's panels. I do have 2 questions for you. One is, 7 years is a long time to write a book. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering, after all this effort, you have this spectacular work and we get our hands on it. Have you been able to have Jaguar Man not be in the back travel section in bookstores in the Netherlands? And 2,
yeah.
What has been the reaction of your father to these texts?
Okay.
Since he had initially told you, don't go in that direction, and you went and found the Jaguar Man. So if you could tell us about that and the access that people have to your book, and when we will be able to buy it in English here in Ghana.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. So my father, so we didn't have contact for a while I was working on the book. Also, my Suriname, I have many half siblings. How do you say that? One of them became very angry because she heard that I was investigating Winti. So I didn't have contact with my Surinamese family for a while. When I went to Suriname also, I was not welcomed by any family because they were all angry at me. I was welcomed through some weird miracle by Tessa Leosha, who was a writer who went through sort of the same process when she was writing a book about her family. And she told me, okay, so this is just part of the process. Ignore it, go on. They don't understand it now, but when the book comes out, they will. So that was very good. That was very encouraging. Yeah, so for 7 years I worked on this book, and then the book was finished. And then the day before the book was in all the bookstores, I thought I should give one to my father, because in the end, this book is for him. Yeah, so I found him back, and I gave him a copy of the book, and €30 because he needed money. so I gave him €30. I was already happy that I could do that, and at least he had the book. And I thought, well, at least he has it. But then the morning after, he called me, and that was the day that the book was in all the bookstores in the Netherlands. And he called me and he told me, I have not slept the whole night. I have read the book in one time. And yeah, thank you for writing this. That's what he said. So he was very proud, and he said, like, yeah, this is how it was. This is the reality, and thank you for not listening to me, basically, he said. And he took the gift. So that was very good. It made it more, it made it more big, and it made it also like, okay, I've already done what needed to be done in a way. So the fact that now the book was in the bookstores and people could think things of it, I felt a little bit protected. And then what was your second question? Oh yeah, did I manage to get the book out of the thing? Yes, I freaking did. This was the tool for that, the Book Week essay. So they asked me to write this Book Week essay, and I wanted to do something with this story, but I wanted to do it in a different way. So I thought I'm going to do something with all these other writers that I had discovered in the same years. Anton de Kom was alone in Suriname. He wrote this book in 1934. But then at the same time, if you zoom out worldwide, there were many writers like Anton de Kom, black writers who descended from enslaved people, who went onto boats, started writing books, and tell the story of their ancestors and how they had survived to the world. All these writers were followed by secret services, put into jail. Many of them had bad endings. And I read all of their books. And in all of their books, I found like secret messages that I could recognize because I had researched the powers of the Jaguar Man. So for example, chromanti, I also read that word in a book of an American writer, of a Jamaican writer. There were many of these code words that I now had the key to understand what they actually meant and what these people were actually trying to say in between the lines. They could not say it out in the open, but they said it in between the lines, and I could understand what they were saying. So I knew I wanted to do something with these writers for the Book Week essay. I just didn't know how to do it until I had a dream. I fell asleep one night, and then in the dream I was sitting on a boat, dressed as a sailor, writing in a diary. I woke up, I didn't really understand what that meant. But at the same day, I got a visit from a professor of the University of Kent, a black woman from Suriname, who had read Jaguar Man and who wanted to meet me. So we met, and I felt like maybe I should tell her about this dream. And then she said, "Oh, of course you had this dream. This dream is the Boto Banya." And the Boto Banya was a dance that enslaved people in Suriname danced. And with this dance, they told the story of how they were once free people who were forced on a ship, crossed the ocean, and then split up. One brother was sold to a Frenchman, went to Haiti. The other one went to New York. The other one went to Suriname. But in these songs, they say, but before we were split up, we were the same people, and we brought the same powers with us to all these places. So we are still connected. So then I thought, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on a sailing ship in the Caribbean, and I'm going to sail past all these places where these writers departed from. I will take their books and I will start with doing a voodoo ritual, and then see what happens. So that's what I did. I went to the Dominican Republic. I wanted to go to Haiti, but it was too dangerous. Everybody, a voodoo priestess told me you should not do that. It's too dangerous now. So because she was a voodoo priestess, I took it seriously. So I went to the Dominican Republic, boarded the ship there, did a ritual, and left. And many weird things happened. And so that's what the Book Week essay was about. It became #1 in the Netherlands. But also the cool thing was I made it very clear at the beginning of Botobanya why I was writing this book and what I wanted to cause with this book. And the cool thing was that was happening during the Book Week. I visited all these bookstores in the Netherlands, and many of these bookstores had taken the books from the Suriname department or from the Caribbean department and had placed these books in the shop window. Yeah. So yeah, that's what happened during that week, and also Jaguar Man was taken off the shelf. And oh yeah, and so when you get the book in Accra, yeah, so in January it's going to be published in the UK by a Jamaican wonderful woman who started her own publisher. Yeah, and it will be published in January. I hope it will also arrive here then, and I hope I can come back with it. Or maybe I should find a local. Yeah, but maybe the woman from Jamaica is going to be angry if I if I make another another copy. We have to see how to do that exactly. But yeah. Yeah, thank you. This was marvelous. I hope you enjoyed it. I have to say it's really magical what happened because of this book. It has brought me to so many places all around the world. It has been translated into French, into German. English version is coming, but I already went to America also. I did a whole tour there. And now I'm here in Ghana, and it's just so... Like, it was such a good idea to not be afraid of the superpowers of my ancestors. And I can see it while I'm sitting here and seeing your faces. It's a miracle. And yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for inviting me. And it was marvelous.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And with that, I think I don't have to close the session. Thank you so much, Raoul. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And I should announce that we have new rounds of sessions coming up.